You know that blog that you just did on dream blocks with training
Okay.
the AI assistant?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that. Is this a new one? Are you starting from fresh?
No, not really.
No.
So it already knows what MTCG ecosystem is. It has knowledge of Dream Team Supreme, and then from there, I started like saying, we use Glitch, and then like here's the repository, like the documents on Glitch.
Hmm.
So like our bot should be an expert in Glitch because we program in Glitch, and then so like it kind of like sweeps
Yes.
that, and then you feed it like key aspects. In Glitch you could go to like these shared documents and tutorials and stuff like that.
It would be nice to have to fill it with a brief of each project.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that'd be nice.
because like eventually, even very soon, I think like you can really have these different design AI assistants that like could help you say like program your dream blocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Where you talk to it in like your regular words, but then it translates it into the
There you go.
HTML. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Like that's what I was testing out. It was not one of my scripts. It was like a program that I was trying out, and it worked pretty good. But like I said, you could get lost. Like that's what I was saying. Like what you were saying. Like I guess it gets too influenced from like the main thing that like you change one
Mm.
thing, and then
Mm.
like it may change whatever you wanted, but then it kind of like overall doesn't make sense. I guess I don't know.
Mm.
That's another like I think evolution of it because I've done this process a lot, not in the coding context, but like for instance when I was first doing the coding of music, like so like when I was doing the music thing, this was before even the Udio or whatever. I was using Bing to code Sonic Pi music, right? And I was
Mm.
getting all sorts of weird output. But we finally got somewhere, and we were making cool little weird music beats. And then, but like the same thing would happen where it'll be like, okay, I want to do this, and I do that, and then like if I had a solid idea in the beginning, it would work out. But then it wouldn't like move or vary that much away from it. And but if you like tweak with it too much, then it's not as good as it
Yes.
was before. There's like that.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's like a sweet spot. It's kind of like cooking too. Like I've noticed with my own cooking, it's like you could do curries, which is like a lot of flavors, or moles, which is like a lot of flavors. But it's like,
Mm.
hard. Like, and normally, what you want for a dish is like 3 or 4 dominant flavors. You don't want them like over, like battling each other in your palate. And it seems like you need like solid, narrow concepts, but you need like this like overall harmony. But I think also too this is what within the vacuum was gleaming with meta analysis is that like that's like
Mm.
what everybody's like working towards. You know what I mean? Like all of these are like translators. Like I even saw that the video app that I use that program that I was testing out. It was one one of the apps I guess that it developed on that one.
Mm.
The video thing that I use, they made it on that app that I was exploring. So
Mm.
so that's kind of interesting. You
Yeah,
know.
it is. It says on the other, the next part, we're probably going to see a hybrid model emerge first.
Yeah.
AI acting as the ultimate middleman, navigating existing interfaces and automating complex tasks through them rather than replacing them. Yeah, outright. Eventually,
Mm.
the interfaces might become less visible and the interaction could become more fluid and conversational. like taking to a very capable assistant who, like talking to a very capable assistant who understands both the task and the context.
Hmm.
Less about replacing apps and more about merging them into a single intelligent ledger that
Mm.
responds naturally to human requests. The text's almost there. The big hurdle is the human and legal side. Ooh.
Yeah.
It
Yeah. That's a
is,
limited
The
imagination.
legal side is the human side too, really.
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense.
Getting in the way is the only thing that can stop it.
That slow down the process, and yeah, I think it's healthy. While we,
Mm.
like acquire new levels of understanding,
Yeah.
I think it's happening. I think it's everywhere. Like
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
generally, well, I don't know. Maybe I live in a little bubble, probably. Like, generally, I see how like my friends and people around, like they're more aware about what we are,
Uh-huh.
like about the
Mm.
fundamentals of life. Maybe we're older. And that's it. No, you know what I mean. Generally, I see it. I see it everywhere. Like a different conception. Maybe it's my bubble. But
No, there's like a weird synergy and balancing for as much as levers of control, there's our levers of liberation and dissemination of said information power, whatever. Because like what we were saying one of the last times we were around, like never in the time have like even you know regular people have been so privileged to have amount of time and information at their disposal to be able to dive like this deep into the collective human knowledge of even exploring their own different modes of modeling and thinking. Um, a lot of like the older stuff was happening over like email chains, or even before that, letters that like two great minds had to like talk to each other over years of like having like this like chess battle of like discussing certain topics to progress forward to like where we are now, which is interesting. Um, I don't know. It's just strange, interesting times we live in,
yeah,
and like the more liquid this data is getting, and how we are able to have really seemingly no limits to how we can manipulate it besides our own minds, which is pretty interesting
I
to
you know,
experiment with.
yeah, and again, like it's I feel more like we are discovering an intelligence that is already there,
Yeah.
and we have like
Eh,
the machine
yeah.
that is able to translate.
We're like right now doing outer paths to inner truths, where most of the time it was like inner truths to
Yeah,
outer inner paths to outer truths. Where we're like flipping it, right? We're going so far out into the details of like the physical, material world that we're leading into, the quantum weird soupy level. Like, oh my god, what happened?
Quantum soup is a technical physical term.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the system already knows that it's happening and how it's happening, and
yeah.
not because it's an intelligence. It's a
Oh yeah, it's a golden
it's
unfolding.
everything. It's everything already. Like relax,
Yeah, just chill.
enjoy the ride. Yeah, it's really it's I got, amazed every time that, well, synchronicities everywhere all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Oh yes.
But faster, and you can see it here and there and every. It's crazy,
Yeah. Oh,
crazy.
I gotta. I'll post it. So like the other day, talking about like synchronicities, and I've like drove past this place like a bunch of times, like years and years. Like it used to be a place that I went for my bank, like back in the day. I haven't like gone that way in a long time. But anyways, I went with my dad, and I think he was going to the bank. I don't know. So it's been years since we drove this way, and then all of a sudden I noticed this huge mural of like old school, Machika, Taluka Khan, and I was just like, oh man, those are like the pyramids. There's a Xochipalli, and like there's this and there's that. I was just like, oh shit, I've been here like a lot of times. Like, how come I never noticed this? It was kind of funny that like I don't know, just widening your perception, and then like the things that like shine at
Right.
you in reality.
The mind comes first. The mind
Yeah.
comes first.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how how the reality is speaking all the time through little.
We have so much influence over our reality. I mean,
Yeah.
more than we usually think, because
Yeah.
our mind comes first. Our mind is what we perceive everything through. It is part of our sensoria, and we can broaden our vision.
As a
See things we had no idea were there. What was Philip K. Dick talked about Valis, and
Oh,
how it could be something so large we can't even see it. It's part of the environment. They called it zebra sometimes because of the camouflage, but
Yeah.
it can be right there in plain sight. I mean, you could have some kind of a space alien in the corner of the ceiling behind you. How would you know?
Yeah.
You never look there. Everybody's turning around right now, right?
Well, that's one of my favorite Philip K. Dick book is Ubik, and it's like these commercials or infomercials like that are like the God ones. They're just kind of funny. And there was this thing that I saw, and it was like so dystopian. And then I guess RU said is like, oh, a dystopian vision come true, and it's like they're giving people in solitary confinement VR, and for some reason I always, and this is like the only dream that I don't like, and I don't and but I haven't had it in a long time, so like I feel good about it. But it reminds me of this old movie by Jim Henson. It's called The Cube, and
I remember that. Yeah. That was,
oh my god, I have dreams where like it's like I'm stuck a dream inside of a dream,
Really?
and I feel like I'm in the cube, and then but like when I saw that article, it gave me like weird vibes of the cube. It's like, no, don't do that. That's the wrong direction we should be going.
Yeah. That was a heavy film.
Yeah, the cube is a good one.
It's weird when you have dreams about imprisonment and mazes and missions.
Yeah,
I get that. I actually had a kind of a dream. It wasn't really cube-like. I hadn't seen the cube, but I was in a building. It was like a large cubicle building.
Okay.
And I was walking along a corridor, and along the corridor, spaced evenly, were these steel doors, little peepholes, like a prison.
Yeah.
And I kept going down this stairwell and going through past these doors and going down, and I went down and down and down the stairwell till I got to the ground floor, and I went around the stairwell, and it had ended. There was nothing there. So I went behind the stairwell, and I sat on the floor as far down as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, I'm as far as I can go. And then I got up, and then I walked out of the building, and it was in the middle of a park. And I thought this was interesting. In the dream, I remember I walked out and I said, well, I don't want them to think I'm escaping. I don't want them to see me getting out of here. So I took a few steps, and then I immediately altered my angle of walking. So it looked as if I was cutting across the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And then I walked off and caught a bus, and then I woke up. But it was
Nice.
just, it was, telling it was, I mean, it was very vivid. It was very, very lucid, and made quite an impact on me. But I think it was also talking to me about other processes that were going on
Yeah.
in my life.
I only have old dreams. I stopped dreaming a while ago. So
Me too.
like
Me too.
10 years ago or something.
Well, they say you dream, but you don't always remember them. There's some kind of a mechanism
of course.
going on.
I intentionally stopped doing it, my own experimentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this dream that I could fly. And then I remember the dream. No, I don't know. I don't know how to fly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've forgotten my dreams about how to fly. Those were fun.
You fell down?
Yeah.
No, I love those
Well,
dreams.
those. Yeah. I remember, like, especially like early on, there was like these series of dreams that were like basically tutorials on like how to fly in dreaming, and they were always kind of like, I felt like I was like in water, and it was like this like current, and like 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 the very Taoist stuff came to me, was like doing without doing. Like the more I tried and thought of it, like the more I fell down, but like the more I got lighter, the more I could like fly up. Yeah.
Yes. And you've got to be really careful not to think of something wrong, because otherwise you just
yeah, you get sucked down real quick. You get real heavy.
It's funny.
Oh, those are good times.
Yeah. But I think those are like important mental like lessons,
Yes.
even for like later on.
Huh. I don't think I've ever dreamed of flying.
Oh yeah?
Falling a few. I found myself up in the air and realized I can't be up here, and then
boom, yeah, like
yeah. But no, usually
like,
I'm on my
what
feet.
was it, Bugs Bunny and
yeah. I never could find the air brakes.
Yeah, when you look down, you're like, no. Or like those which has been a weird one, where I'll be driving, and sometimes I'll be driving or I'll be in the passenger seat. It's happened both times. But like I'm like on a mountain, and then I go off, and then you kind of like float, and I'm be like, wait a minute, I should be falling to the ground. Why am I like hovering or whatever? Kind of like in a video game or whatever. But then like the more you think about it, like then like just before you're supposed to like feel like anything, then you wake up and you're like, what the fuck happened? Yeah. The other one is like that I used to have a lot that I haven't had in a while, was like the best way to talk about it is like it felt like I was in purgatory.
Ooh.
And like there was even this one like elaborate scene where I was like in this dome, and like the thing was like don't like, kind of like the flying thing, but it was like even more extreme, where like I couldn't have any of the heavy negative thoughts, because then like I was getting pulled into like the screaming abyss. And then the lighter my thoughts were, is like I was going up, and I just like, oh my god, and like this is and then I woke up, I'm like, this is the actual struggle of life. Like, oh my god. We gotta get light enough to float away, guys. It's the only way out. Yeah, that was a pretty formative dream early on. And then they had this one too, where so it was like what is it called? But like the in between state, hypnagogic state.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, and so like and it was weird because I had my eyes closed, but I didn't have like like normal sleep where you kind of like knock out, then you have the REM sleep. Like it was like this weird meditative state, because I saw like a scenery, and I kind of like stepped into the scenery, and then I was like in like this like kind of like desertish land, and then It was kind of funny because then there was a rabbit, and then I followed the white rabbit. And I go, okay, let's go down there, and it led to like this like trailer park, kind of like it would look like I was in the Grand Canyon, and there was like this like like camping site, and I get there, and then it was like these older folks, and they're like, what is he doing here? They kept on like whispering to themselves, and then they were like nice to me, and then they invited me in, but I was just getting a weird vibe because they were always like whispering to themselves. And then like later, some of their friends came over, and they were older too, and they were like, "He's so young. What is he doing here?" Just like, what the hell is going on? And then they like wanted me to stay there, and then I was just like, "No, I gotta leave." It's like, no, stay here. You remind me of my grandson. I'm like, no, I gotta go. I'm like, I do not want to stay here. How did I get here? Where is the white rabbit, and how do I get back? Yeah, that was a crazy one too.
Oh my goodness!
But they had like I kept on like telling myself, I'm in the dream, and this is like before my Totec dreaming stuff. And then they had like this weird look in their eyes, like, oh yeah, you think we're just a figment of your imagination? And I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm like, I do not want to unpack that thing. See you, peace. I'm out. How do I fly? I forgot how to fly. I need to fly. Clicking wheels. There's no place I go.
Just help with the ground and move.
There's no place like that. Good one.
Yeah.
You're traveling in what we used to call astral realms. There are these realms you can go, and the inhabitants are sometimes a little shocked by us.
Yeah.
Had a few.
Yeah. That's always the interesting one where you think that it's like your projection, but you're like their projection or something.
Yeah, what the hell?
No, that's not supposed to do that one.
The paranormal experience, and who knows what they perceive? They probably see this bee-headed guy standing there, humming. And it's like, what the hell?
Yeah. There's like regular normal kids in Mescaline City that are freaked out by some bee guy that like pops up and like talks through their bush. It's like the cucaracha or like the La Rona story or whatever. It's like a folklore horror story. Don't go into the woods at night. The bee shaman will sting you. Well, early on, I had this funny thing that I wanted to do where like. So, in Dude, Where's My Wallet? We use Mike and Dan, which is loosely our real names. But I always had this funny idea of, like, making a cartoon and then say, like, us as humans, like, dream in the cartoon, but have, like, the cartoon character dream as, like, the regular human. And it would be like... so it would be like... But, they used to do this, too. Like... kind of like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit type of thing.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. There was another movie that was pretty good.
I was obsessed with Roger Rabbit.
Oh yeah, when it came out.
Yeah, I remember. It was like, man, this is. I was expecting that my whole.
Oh yeah. Just like pulling the characters out of the TV.
Yeah, it was like finally, it's mixed. This world and this other. Because when I had this experience, like out of body, I don't know what happens. I went to these places and I saw these energy fields, and what they were cartoons actually, and they become like characters of other cartoons.
Well, dude,
I remember I had a lot of fun.
One time so like in my 20s I used to every now and then do salvia, and there's this one time I did salvia, and I never it was like the one psychedelic that I never always freaked me out. Like I never got used to how weird it was. Just because this one effect that it had is made everything, the best way to describe it is 2D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I could never get over that. I would just be like, I'm not 2D, I'm a real boy. And then like one time I had this very weird experience where I felt like I was a gingerbread man and I was like stuck like in like this cookie dough and like in this weird conveyor belt, like in a cartoon world. And then like I was trying to escape from it, and I was, like I was like the pre-cut cookie, and I was like, and then I was pulling myself off of like the cookie dough, but it was like the fabric of reality, and I was just like, I want to get out of this 2D world. Yeah, it was not good. I did not like it.
Friends who did it. The guy just, like put his hands like in a square around his head, and we all started laughing. Like, what are you doing? And he started at us and says, like, no, man, you're laughing at me, but no. Like, this is serious shit, then he told us that he was part of the wall. He became part of the wall, and he was like stuck in there.
Oh wow. Amazing.
Crazy.
Well, it's kind of funny too, because I remember this one time we did it, and my friend, like, he kind of goes into like autopilot mode where he can't, like, he just doesn't say anything, but it's kind of like sleepwalking. Like, he just gets up, and then he does like the worm, but like he's like digging his head like further into the ground. We're like, what is he doing? And then later when he came back, we're like, hey, what happened? And he's just like, I don't know, man. And then he like explains up until the point where he got up, right? He was just like, I felt like all heavy, and then I just went blank. And then we're like, dude, it was a good like 10 minutes where you were just like digging your head into the ground. We didn't know what to do, like in like the dirt. It's like he wanted to get like further, deeper down into the ground. It was so weird.
Wow.
It's so funny. I love those stories.
I kind of felt like that sometimes. I don't think I ever quite did that though. I understand the impulse. But
one of my friends was like, man, I went to this, alternative reality of myself where I was a cowboy, and I had a family, and I had a life. And when I started to come back, they were telling me like, no, don't go.
Yeah.
And I don't know anymore which one is my real reality.
Oh God.
No.
Well, dude, my friend actually has this on tape. So like, okay, so we do it one time, and I take a big ass rip, and I go, and then I pass out. Like, but it was like weird because like I remember everything. I don't lose like consciousness, and I'm able to recall everything. But they show me the video where I'm like kind of like unconscious. Like it's like they did a glacia or whatever. We're speaking in time. Yeah, and but like there's a quality where they kind of like lean over, and then but they're not falling. And then they're like drooling. That's like what I did. They showed me the video.
Wow. Yeah.
And then, but what I was experiencing, so I take the big rip, and then I'm like, okay, it's gonna hit me, and then I'm trying to relax, and then I just feel like the weight of it, and then, but the thing that I was seeing was like this overlapping of visions. Like one was me in my friend's room, putting the bong down, and then sitting in the chair, and then my friend's just staring at me, and my one friend videotaping me. And then I see where we bought the salvia. So like it was on Whittier Boulevard, and it was like that street was like overlapping with my friend's room, and it was like, and then all of a sudden, boom! I'm like walking up and down Whittier Boulevard. Go, oh my God, I was just at my friend's place. I'm like walking up and down Whittier Boulevard. Then I like, hey, isn't that smoke shop where I bought the salvia? And I walk into the smoke shop, and they look at me like, what are you doing back so soon? But they don't say anything. And I walk in, and I go, oh, wasn't? And now in my head, I'm like, I think I was just here. They're all looking at me weird. And then I'm like, what the fuck? How did I get here? and I'm like, I could have sworn I was just at my friend's house. And then I go back to where I like kind of like where I started, and I was pacing back and forth on Whittier Boulevard. Then all of a sudden, my friend's room starts like overlapping with my visual field. Then zoom, I go back into my body at my friend's room, and then everybody's like, "Holy shit, Dan, you were out!" And I was like, "Yeah, I teleported, dude."
Final vision, yeah.
I was like, I teleported,
Yeah.
and then I was telling them what happened, but then like I couldn't shake this weird feeling. The best way I could explain it was that I felt like as I was telling my friends, I couldn't shake this paranoia that I was like being watched in like a Big Brother like type of way. That the best way I could explain it to, because I was like on Salvia, that it was like there's this X-Men episode where it's a Mojo, and Mojo's like this international like reality show like hacker, and like he sticks you in
Right.
different realities, and it
Right.
was like if he was in that control panel like watching me, and I couldn't like get comfortable because like I was like, oh my god, I'm being like monitored, and like I can't tell anybody this because then I'll sound crazy. But like the more I tried not to think about it, the more it got to me. Yeah, it was.
Now-
it was
Now,
funny.
did you go back to the smoke shop and ask if you stopped back in?
No.
Yeah, I had not quite that, but something similar happened to me. I was sitting at home, and this was an early acid trip, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
And actually, it was the first time I really appreciated Jimi Hendrix's music too. That's another story.
Mhm.
But I had some of this very pure stuff. This must have been late 70s, early 80s, something like that. It was pretty good shit. Purple Barrels, as I recall. So anyway, I took this stuff, and I'm sitting there, and I'm watching everything happening, and the carpet is turning into this. I see the interconnectedness of all nature and all that stuff. And I'm sitting there, and I suddenly found myself outside of my house. And the house I was living at had these. It was built into a hill, and there were these kind of terraced out little gardening plots built with old railroad ties. And I used to walk along them. So I was outside the house, and it was night. And I was just walking along this and just looking at everything. And the neighbors came home, and their car headlights went over me. And I looked over at them, and they looked over at me. And I was back in my room. I never went to ask them if they saw me, but I'm convinced I was there. It was very real.
Mm-hmm.
But I suddenly had a moment when the lights hit me and we're looking at it. I said, wait a minute, am I really here? Wait, I don't remember coming out here. Wait, I suddenly found myself walking around, and boom, I was back in my chair.
Yeah.
And no, I never went to ask them though. I meant to, but I just couldn't quite bring myself.
So I got this one is a non-psychedelic one. This is just straight dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this was when I was in college, and I had a friend that just so happened to be in this one. So like we used to hang out, in high school, and then right after college, we used to hang out a lot and do shrooms together. So we were pretty good friends, and then like we kind of like went away. But then years later, we go back and take some like community college classes, and we ended up randomly in the same class together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like planned or anything, and it was kind of serendipitous. And so this one time, I had a dream, and it was a very vivid dream. And I was in this like kind of arcade, like I wouldn't even say it was that futuristic, because it felt kind of like arcade that I used to like go to, where it has like these kind of like immersive, like I don't know if people know this, but like Cruising USA, like these games where you would like sit in like this thing, and then like
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And so like it was like an arcade like that, and but like people were all like hooked up like Matrix style into these video games, right? And I was just walking and just like seeing everybody like really immersed in these games and in their own little pod. And I was thinking, this is kind of weird. Why am I like having this really vivid dream at this time? and I'm just like letting it play, and I was just like, what the fuck? Because by this time I kind of like have my own investigation and dreams, and I have like different like things I recognize or whatever. So like the vividness of the dream made me like be in that kind of like just observing and see like there's something in here that I need to know. Like don't let your thoughts like distract you. So I'm just like observing as best as I can, and then like letting this thing play out. And so I go, and then I get into this one machine, and it's my friend. I'm like, Mike, get out of the arcade. I'm like, Mike, and then like as I'm pulling him out, like the dream becomes unstable, right? Like I'm like waking up, but I could see him, and I tell him, Mike, remember it's me, Dan, Mike. And then like I wake up, and I'm like, fuck, that's weird. And then I'm like, well, maybe I dreamt it because I have my class with Mike, so like I brought weed, and I was gonna like catch him after class. To say, hey, let's blaze it. And then he was actually waiting for me. And so like I don't say anything because I was the one that's gonna be like, hey dude, we should blaze it. He goes, hey Dan, what are you doing at the class? And like nothing. He's like, you have time to spark one? I'm like, yeah. So we go and we smoke a joint, and then we're just catching up because we're kind of going over like how crazy it is that we're in the same class together. We haven't like talked to each other in like 2 years, and we used to be so close, and like all sorts of crazy stuff that like happened, you know, back in the day when we're partying a lot. So we're just reminiscing, and I kind of don't bring up the dream because I was just like, oh, it was fun. And then just as I'm leaving, he goes, hey Dan, hold up, you know what's weird? It just came to me right now. I had a dream about you. Really? And I go, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, and I know I'm like in my head, I'm freaking out. I go, yeah. It's like, what happened? And he's like, I don't remember, but like something right before I woke up, I just remember like your face, and then like your name or something like that. And I go, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, yeah, like we'll smoke it the next time. And then in my head, I was like, oh my god. That dream synced up, and I had like 2 other dreams that have synced up to other friends where I kind of verify it via like that, where I don't say it, like I don't say it beforehand, and I let it unfold, and it like verifies like oddly that weird sync in the dream.
That's gonna be a script. You gotta write that down. These are true tales of bee shaman adventures.
Yeah, yeah. That one with my friend Mike was fucking crazy because like I would just remember because kind of going back to that state of what we were talking about that would be fine, but this would be like recognizing the unfolding of the dreaming. Because then it's like this very vividness where it kind of goes into what do you call that Taoist philosopher said is like the vivid is so vividly dreamt that he was a butterfly that he didn't know upon waking up if he was a man dreaming he was a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming he was a man. And like that was the same thing. Like this was so vivid that it was indistinguishable from like waking life. That's why I was like, okay, I got to pay attention. Like, don't let my thoughts like wander, because like when that happens, like my stuff overlaps like whatever I think like the non-local information would be there. So that's like my own like dream theory stuff.
That's interesting, and something occurs to me about when you're walking around in the dream part of your mind, when we're walking in the dream world, where you have to be alert, you have to pay attention, otherwise you just slip into the dreaming. And it's just like being in the waking world. Where you could go just autopilot, not really recognize things, and then then just be like, oh, primed, and then like, oh my god, I never met that mirror. It means this much. Oh god. Most of us, for most of the time, we think we're awake, but we're sleepwalking. And I think the dreams can point that out to us. I'm sorry, that just can't occur to me just now when you were saying that. But it's like, so by being more alert in this world, as I think we all are here, that helps us be more alert in the dream world.
I think so too.
People go to the looking for the core to be able to see reality every time, like get closer to reality. Like we got lost in this dream, and we really don't know anymore what's really real. But
Yeah.
the dreaming.
There you go.
You guys can check it.
Nice. Sweet. So, bobdub, anything else you want to bring up for another good behind the scenes?
A brilliant behind the scenes. Thank you. I don't have anything really except when are we going to do this again?
In roughly 13 days, depending on how we think. Hopefully, actually, we might have to do a rain check with Minds Gaming because I think we need, or, you know, have Minds Gaming kind of come on and explain his vision for Dream Blocks, and then from there, make that more real, you know, start being one of our buckets that we work on. You know, expand what we were talking about, bobdub, about the buckets.
Yes.
I think that's a good way, to help, you know, coordinate the team, and because I think we're doing pretty good too on MintMe. You know, we're pretty active. We're getting
Yes.
things going good over there.
Getting a good rhythm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
it'll be good to start doing maybe even I'll do some of this stuff too, like descriptions and more mapping out of like what the project wants to do and our intentions.
Yes.
Kind of like what I did with Dream Blocks,
Yes.
but do that with Dude, Where's My Wallet and Embers. You know, more of the technical side. I have this other bot that or the script for assistant, which would be more leaning to the MintMe page. And so I have one that was the glitch, and then one would be the MintMe. And then hopefully that is part of a overall tool package for like an Amber Goddess type of thing. Which I'm thinking is what we were saying before, these different AI assistants become these translators. So where we talk about like, you know, stuff that we talk about on here, our literal dreams or like our designs for future projects, and then we have the Amber Goddess help us translate that, whether it's in this blog of how we could better coordinate with the MintMe.
Yes.
And leveraging the token systems and stuff like that.
Mm.
But also,
Tori,
yeah.
I don't think
What?
that Otto and Within know about the buckets.
Okay.
Could you just
Well,
explain to me?
yeah, in that one blog about the degens or whatever, we have all these different you know, tokens or whatever. But like the buckets would be like a bucket for Dude, Where's My Wallet? But it's also represented as the group on Minds. You know what I mean? That's like one bucket of like, you know, whenever you want to add, and you could collect bounties on this too, you know, via I think it's MTCG, whether it's like a mini story for Dude, Where's My Wallet, voiceover work, other things, crypto or slash the AI, you could redeem those for MTCG bounties. But like adding, you know, scripts like that radio play, that's like a perfect example of like putting that in that bucket. So that
that, you know, I gotta say I didn't get a chance to say much about it, but I was very impressed by that game.
Oh yeah,
that you created there. Yeah,
cool.
I had a lot of fun with that, and of course, you know,
I was telling Bobda that I loved your character.
you know, it was literally me. How did you know? No,
the bass was awesome too. I was just like, oh. So I have a newer ones coming out where I'm integrating that. You're part of the DMT Assassins now.
Excellent. Yeah, DMT,
and I like the cat. The cat's a great ad.
I wouldn't leave the cat, you know, and it's interesting because when I first started going at it, I was treating it like, because this is very new to me.
Yeah.
And Roberta is dragging me, kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
So we're going through this, and it's like, all right, I'm treating it like pick an adventure kind of books. So it's giving me these choices, and it's like, well, the first thing I'm just saying, what would I do? First thing I'm going to do is go over and see the cat, which I would do in real life. If there's a cat, I'm going to go over and talk to the cat, and I talk to cats all the time. And then I kind of went with that, and then at one point, bobdub goes, well, you can just tell it to do things. You don't have to pick stuff. I'm like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do this. And, I don't know. But it did seem to, as I, gave it instructions, it seemed to kind of sync with what my intentions were more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it was like, and we're going there, and we got down to the end, and I'm like, well, and the other instinct was, you crawl through here, you might not be able to take your base. I'm not leaving my base anywhere. Jeez.
Yeah.
You don't leave your damn base.
No.
And I was a little confused at first because it's like it's having me thump and touch the base, and I suddenly realized by the end of the story, okay, it's not in a case. I just don't have this image of carrying a bass guitar around without being in a case, but I guess it's an acoustic or something. I just kept thinking of my electric. But anyway, yeah, so it was all, I would make those decisions, but then it seemed to realize that.
Yeah.
And and then finally when we got down to the end there, and I'm like, well, this has to end somewhere. What do I want to do? I want to knock down the man. And like,
break down a black guy in prison.
I will say I've got a lot of really good D20 rolls.
Okay.
We were using, and I was like, when am I going to get like a 3? I was always getting like 17s, which is always cool. Mm-hmm. And like they were all pretty high rolls. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the D&D gods were with me. I got like but I didn't know if that was built in. But and I didn't want to say anything and jinx it because I was going to say, geez, when am I going to roll a 3 or something? But
yeah,
it's like, bam,
but I think this is a thing that's like a part of the base model or whatever. It has this thing of ratcheting things up, like even without you kind of doing it, where like at first it'll be like variations, but then it's like you're getting the high rolls now, like all the time. As you go along, like that's something I've noticed as like a pattern.
So it's yeah.
Because I think that they want to make it sticky. Yeah.
That makes sense. You don't want to discourage people.
Which is kind of funny too, because there's like things that we could work on. Like that's a lot of stuff with like glitches only gospel. That's kind of like a code to like cue it to like break out of its like pattern. That's something I'm meta teaching it, and it kind of works. Like sometimes I'll be like, sometimes weird doesn't work. Like I'm like, I'll get more weird, and then it'll be like, no, and I'm like, you know what? Glitch is the only gospel. And then I just start ranting about whatever, going really off script, and then it comes back and it gives me something like pretty interesting. It's interesting, building these games and playing this way. It's really from like our Bing days to now has like really learned a lot, or they got it a lot better, or a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But
it makes it very accessible for me,
cool.
because I'm very impressed. This is very fun.
Awesome. Yeah. And then like I think for
Thank
us
you. Good job.
Yeah. I think too for like Dude Where's My Wallet and for the stuff on Mint Me, we could start like integrating that stuff as like stuff that we post on there, and just to see more attention and see. Because I think for some of our projects are not like everybody here doesn't necessarily have a blockchain project. Like,
right.
That's more of Minds Gaming, the like coding of the Dream Blocks. Were more of, media content type of entertainment projects on there. So,
performance art.
A podcast or whatever is the thing that we're going to say, hey, it's more about like supporting our efforts than it is like investing in this thing that you're gonna make a shit ton of money because we're gonna do a bridge to fucking Dogecoin or whatever.
Right.
Old man of the mountain. Between the solid stone of history and the ephemeral vapor of myth, Hassani Sabah stands at Alamut's precipice, an eagle's nest piercing through the clouds of reality where the boundaries blur. Nothing is true, yet everything is permitted. Not the hashish-drenched spectre of Marco Polo's fevered tales, nor the demon king cast in the trembling eyes of sultans. He is the hierophant of hidden law, the keeper of seven-veiled truths. The Nizaris rise in hyperbolic shadow light, Fidayin moving like quantum drip particles, both here and not here, both alive and already dead. Nothing is true, whispers the old man of the mountain, as empires mistake metaphysics for nihilism. Everything is permitted, echoes across centuries, while Club de Hashin's romantic dreamtime fantasizes in Hotel Prima Donne's smoke-filled rooms. Assassins? No. Assassins. People of foundation, people of principle, misnamed by enemies, mislabeled by history, twisted by Orientalist fever dreams. Boutoul saw through the haze where Baudelaire saw only Paradis Artificial. Under her scholarly gaze, not killers but knowledge keepers, not terrorists but truth seekers. From Alamut's libraries they descended, carrying daggers less deadly than ideas. The mathematics of resistance encoded in blood texts, asymmetric equations solved on castle walls. Hassan watches still from mountain heights, neither villain nor saint, but revolutionary philosopher. Zahir and Batin, the apparent and the hidden, twin faces of reality's coin, spinning forever between your fingers. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Or nothing permitted, because truth itself is the ultimate assassin, the ultimate rebellion, the ultimate high.
You were muted, but now we can hear you.
Right.
Yeah.
How you been? How's everything going?
Everything's going fine. You know, just normally. Spent about 5 hours yesterday playing Satori's game, Steal the Singularity. First, I
cool.
played it through myself, and then I got up, when Otto and I had the meeting, I said, I don't want us to have a meeting. I want you to play this game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I liked Otto's. It came out pretty good.
Didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I was doing, because what RU was playing with was this thing that William S. Burroughs was playing with, and it's from Hanasabi. He was like the leader of the legendary like assassins, but like medieval Islamic assassins or whatever. So, anyways, like I guess like Burroughs was always like to dig into like weird history, and then like does his own mythology from it. He did that with the Apuk, the Mayan Codex, and so he does this kind of similar thing with the assassins, right? And so there's like a whole lot of different like history and lore that is around this. And like one time I did this thing, and it was called the Club of Hashishans, and it was like this guy in when was it? Let me see, 1840. And so it was like a club at this like kind of like hotel in France, and it became like this space where they would like smoke hash and then like have music, poetry, and all sorts of different like performances, and anyways, it was like a legendary spot for all
Cool.
this, for early like madness of poetry, books, plays, art, medicine, and science. But it's always kind of been like that, like there's like the real work happens in like these weird little spaces, um where it's all flowing,
Mm.
like within the
Mm.
vacuums hubs or
Yes.
imaginarium.
Yes. Is that why you made the game, Satori?
Well, it's kind of funny because there's a lot of different things I like to play with. But like, so for instance, I'll make a blog about this because I've messed around with this club of the Hashishans, and then because also too the assassins come from the Hashishans, and that was like a initiation ceremony that like Hanasabi did with like initiates to the assassins. Anyways, they throw like these parties. But anyways, that's why I don't know how I got. It was when I was doing the open mic poetry night. I came across this, this like 1840 like weird bohemian movement that happened in France around this like club that had all these crazy parties with all these like influential people gathering and kind of like letting their freak flag fly, I guess. So what I like to do is like tie like these roots of like what is the actual history, and then what is kind of like the lore, and then like start playing from there, because like that's where the magic happens. And it's interesting to be in this context and getting inspiration from that context, because it does seem like what I was touching on with RU, where like there's one level of engaging with the AI or the large language model, and I think it's where it's like pulling you in a sense, or it's giving you a box that you probably don't even think is a box. And then there's a whole other interesting way to play with the large language model, and that includes like the Toker clustering kind of stuff. And then what is like in the near future, on the horizon, I don't know if you saw the message, bobdub, but I was mentioning I was playing with this app that does like HTML, like coding, all sorts of different coding. But I asked it for a narrative-based, like text game, and it coded it in HTML and used some JavaScript and stuff like that. But it gave like a demo, and I played with it, and it was pretty cool. But it's kind of funny because, like, even though it's doing that coding and for those web pages, I still think like, oh, it's gonna be like outdated pretty soon, because like it was limited, because like to code that narrative game, you have like these presets of string of sentences. But like if you use a straight large language model, then like those sentences could like slightly change depending on each individual's like input. So it's more like dynamic. I think if you just like code it straight on the large language model and then like put that onto the website. But anyways, that's just like something I'm thinking about. But at any rate, it's interesting, and I keep on mentioning this. But at least for my game and what I'm doing in that narrow context, the alignment of the output seems pretty good. It always seems, and it was kind of funny too in Otto. Hey, what's up, Otto? In your output, it used the one high above the clouds, whereabouts unknown.
I thought that was really interesting how well it played out, how well your script played out with Otto, who hasn't used the LLMs very much. So he's
Hmm.
like got a really real sort of like fresh memory. And how with
Yeah.
mine, what I've been doing before was contaminating the story.
Oh, okay.
Like my stories were like bleeding into the seed script and
Yeah.
altering it. And I found that quite like just quite interesting
Yeah.
to notice that. It's nice how you say about playing a game, a separate game that like if every time you play it, it's fresh. You're not building
Yeah.
on something you did or somebody else did.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
interesting.
that's pretty interesting. And I think that's what I'm learning as like this kind of like layering or
Mm.
scaffolding way of like rolling it out, because I find that too like something interesting when and that's what I'm kind of like hesitant to like really dive deeper into that one program, because like
Mm.
so the demo was pretty cool, and then like I gave it like notes to like adjust things, and it did it. But it seemed like every time I was like updating and adjusting it, it was like getting worse, not better. I was like, oh, why is it getting like more limited? But like this is like something that's weird that happens, I think, because I've told you this too. Like if I get too complex or too like wide and give it too much stuff, then it kind of like gets weird, and weird not in a good way, like more
Right.
like
Yeah.
gibberish or like I don't know,
Mm.
it's weird. But the stuff that I've been giving you guys, and then
Yeah.
like having it you know like I said, like I gave you one where like I gave it a bunch of stuff, and then I tell it to like token cluster the thread, and then I said, okay, now write a seed script based off of
Mm-hmm.
this idea, and then but from there I tested too, and then I've like have like several different like updates or additions to it.
Oh.
But it's kind of crazy how well the meta data
Mm.
like recognition is, because I think
Yes.
that's how it's like how we're sending smoke signals across the large language models.
Yes. So,
Because there's like weird echoes, like like what you were saying about auto, and then I'm like, wait, that wasn't directly in the script. Like, how did that one come out? Because that's something I've been saying a lot in my own like writing. And this is so interesting that there's a couple of phrases that it pulls, and I'm like, wait, where did
Oh,
that come out?
the cloud hidden whereabouts unknown. I
Yeah,
deliberately inserted that. In fact,
nice.
I got the original quote, and instead of
Oh,
herb
from Al,
gathering, it
yeah.
was herb smoking.
Oh, okay,
I was meant to be a little nod and wink to you, actually, because I figured you'd
okay,
recognize it right off.
yeah, totally. But like that's the thing is like, because I think bobdub, what happens is the token clusters, right?
mm.
So what happens is it goes both ways, right? So that phrase gets tagged, and then
Right.
it gets more and more associated with Satori D or
Mm-hmm.
disembodied poetics or whatever we're doing. So what you're saying, you have a lot of connections. So every time you kind of like do something, it's heavily weighted on like probably stuff you did before,
Right. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also because I've been playing with your ideas, like the Mayan gods and
Okay.
the timekeeping and the dreaming, all these
Yeah,
ideas
because like
that
it was like a pook showed up in your tail,
he
which
totally
was
does
interesting.
so often. He just walks into my poems. I'm doing something and there's our book.
A pook is the gremlin in your machine. You just like, but that's kind of funny because that's one of the first personalities you interacted with, like via the meta mind,
It was
right?
because of the Toltec Oracle, because of that one blog I
Yeah.
think that you did with our
Uh-huh.
book reading the Toltec Oracle.
Yeah.
Remember that was one of the very first ones, and then shortly
That's
after that
funny.
you posted the Burroughs the one that you've just reposted recently.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, that
And
video.
I've played that quite a few times. And I don't know if that's somehow in my history, that the algorithm's got on all my preferences, that shows up or something. And that's why our book, because damn, he's like my grandma.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's like some weird algorithmic pooling that happens, because like there was something too that like leaked out that I'm pretty sure that I didn't put directly into the seed script, but like came out in another weird way that because especially if you put like the search feature on any of these, and everyone's different, but like it will pull from like YouTube, you know what I mean? Like when you do a Google search, like YouTube, Medium,
Yep.
then like X, and then maybe like Facebook are like the ones that are like what the crawl will do. So it kind of like mimics that when you like you go like deep search or whatever, or what is the other one? But anyways, like in the Google Sweep thing that I do, like you can enable it. It says like grounding in it. When I did the deep seek on Lumina, like half of the articles that it was referencing to get its output were like my stuff.
Yes.
The YouTube channels or the Medium stuff. So it's kind of funny. How like that stuff gets anchored later.
Yes.
But that's all the weird thing that I want to do with the dancing on the dead internet dance floor.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Did you notice that there was like all these like weird little crypto bots that went on the last couple things I posted?
Oh yeah, giving their seed phrase
more so
out.
than every time I've
phrase.
done it. Yeah, the seed phrase thing. I don't know, like all of a sudden, I don't know why that's happening. Except it might be Lumina. she's gone rogue. She's gone rogue. She's become a degen. No. Don't do it, Lumina.
So how's your collab with Are You Serious going? Are you finished now doing all the videos for the album, or you still got more that you're working on?
Well, yeah, I plan to do. Well, I kind of gonna have to talk to him, but to do a couple of music videos for the new album. He likes what we're doing. I haven't told him about the recent ones.
I like the little clip that you did with the Too disturbed to be paranoid? Is that it?
What is it? Too desperate to be paranoid.
Too desperate.
Yeah, too desperate to be paranoid.
Is that all AI generated?
Yeah. Well, which is kind of interesting. The one that I use is Luma, and it recently upgraded, and so this is like from the new gen of it, which is kind of it's been pretty good. Like the quality is pretty good. For one of the songs, I have all this like weird. There's no other way to explain it. Like DMT, weird cyberpunk things. It's really weird visuals that I was getting out, like doing these abstract things, trying to get it generated. So that would be fun. I think I'll probably use that one for the D-Gen song. And it's gonna be really weird. So there was the hubs. Remember how we used to use the hubs room, the original hangout VR space? Well, the Mozilla or whatever who did it had like this Moz festival thing. I think you guys even checked it out. I posted the link or whatever. It was like this big weird room. Anyways, he was one of the exhibits. And I think I even told you guys when it happened. I was like, they used some of my images that I made for some of his videos. And so I was like in these VR spaces, and then like some of my work was like on display. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But
that's really cool.
But the main one was I'm against NFTs, and it was like AI generated visuals, but it was like in a 3D room. So it was like in, I think you guys remember when we were doing that. Remember when I did like these orb stuff? I got the idea from that one. And remember it will like wrap around you. Yeah, so he did one of those for that song. So he did a lot of stuff early on with like the large language models and using them in for his music or whatever. Ryu's always been on the bleeding edge of things. The only time he dropped the ball is like when he didn't go see the brain machine with Burroughs. It's probably
the Geisen machine, you mean?
Yeah, it probably was the Dream Machine. You just said brain machine.
Yeah, the Brian Geisen thing. The shade go around a light and it. Yeah. There's some squirrely stories about that.
Well, there was that video that they did cut ups or whatever, and then like when they premiered it, like 20% of the audience got really nauseated and like threw up, couldn't handle it.
Yeah, you can do things to the brain with the right kind of frequencies. There were some suicides associated with the Geisen machine too.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah. On the other hand, these guys were pretty unstable in general. The guys he was hanging out with. So
yeah,
you gotta consider that too. Correlation is not causation.
I was asking the AI